بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وبعد. Continuing our discussion on the benefits of sitting with the righteous people, we are on our third benefit, and the third benefit is that sitting with the righteous people and sitting with good companionship becomes a proof and an evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you. If I were to ask you a question, is there anything greater than a person walking on this earth and that person in his heart has full conviction and yaqeen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves him? That you and me, we become happy when someone of status, our role models, celebrities, these people love us. Even if they know us, we become happy. But how about if you knew that the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the designer, the fashioner, the one that made you, the first, the last, He loves you? How do we know? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave us the standard and he gave us the answer. He said, قال الله تبارك وتعالى وجبت محبتي للمتحابين فيا. That my love, it becomes firm, it becomes stable, it becomes obligated upon those people that love each other for my sake. وَالْمُتَجَالِسِينَ فِيَّا. And they sit together despite their differences, but because they have one faith, one iman, one deen, and they have love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they sit together for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes obligatory upon them. وَالْمُتَزَاوِرِينَ فِيَّا. And those people that visit one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْمُتَبَادِلِينَ فِيَّا. Those Muslims that spend on one another. And this isn't even talking about charity, but it's talking about when somebody comes over and you feed them, or if you go out and you take them out. وَالْمُتَبَادِلِينَ فِيَّا. Spending on one another. All of these are means of gaining Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And the most important one is مُتَحَابِّينَ فِيَّا وَالْمُتَجَالِسِينَ فِيَّا. That they sit together and they love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you love someone for the sake of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, and that's a guarantee. Without any personal benefit, you love somebody. Even visiting your brother, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said, يَبْنَ آدَمْ مَرِدْتُ فَلَمْ تَعُدْنِي. That I became sick and you didn't visit me. And the natural question that the servant of Allah will ask, Ya Rabbi, كَيْفَ أَعُودُكَ وَأَنْتَ رَبُّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Oh my Lord, how can I visit you? How can I see you when you are the Lords of the world? Meaning you don't get sick. قَالَ أَمَا عَلِمْتَ أَنَّ عَبْدِي فُلَانٍ مَرِضَ فَلَمْ تَعُدْهُ. Don't you know that one of my servants, he became sick and you didn't visit him? أَمَا عَلِمْتَ أَنَّكَ لَوْ عُدْتَهُ لَوَجَدْتَنِي عِنْدَهُ. That if you had visited him, you would have found me there. The idea of loving for one another, being in the gathering of love, being in the gathering of the remembrance of Allah, all of these benefits, you get the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a hadith which is even more beautiful, that a man, أَنَّ رَجُلًا زَارَ أَخًا لَهُ فِي قَرْيَةٍ أُخْرَى. That a man, he went to go visit one of his brothers in another village far away. فَأَرْسَدَ اللَّهُ لَهُ عَلَى مَدْرَجَتِهِ مَلَكًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down an angel to supervise him on his journey. And this angel, he comes to the man and he says, أَيْنَ تُرِيد? Where are you going? What do you want? قَالَ أُرِيدُ أَخًا لِي فِي هَذِهِ الْقَرْيَةِ. I'm going to visit my brother in this far away village. قَالَ هَلْ لَكَ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ نِعْمَةٍ تَرُبُّهَا. That is there some sort of favor that you've done for him and now you're going to go collect something from him? He said, قَالَ لَا. No, that's not the reason why I'm going. غَيْرْ أَنِّي أَحْبَبْتُهُ فِي اللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. I'm only going because I love him for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the angel, he responds, فَإِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ قَدْ أَحَبَّكَ كَمَا أَحْبَبْتَهُ فِيهِ. That I'm an angel of Allah and I'm here to tell you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you just as you love that person. Subhanallah. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives those people that sit in the gatherings. And this is something that the people of this world, the people of material, they'll never understand. They'll never understand what it means to love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? They'll never understand it. And then the last thing is that, the last benefit is that when a person sits in the masjid, and he sits with the righteous people and he sits with good companionship, that person doesn't leave that gathering except in a state that he is forgiven, except in a state that he is not left with sadness or any sort of misery. And I can give you the proof for that. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that there are angels that circulate the earth. Who are they looking for? They're looking for you and me. What are they looking for us to do? To sit in these gatherings and remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they're going across the globe. And eventually they find people doing exactly what we're doing. And then they call all of the other angels and they gather. And then they seek the forgiveness of the people sitting in that gathering. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, I forgive all of them. I mentioned them and I forgive all of them. But one of the angels, he responds and he says, Ya Allah, one of the people sitting there, he didn't actually come for the gathering. He just was passing by and he decided to stop. He decided to stop. He had some sort of other need. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He responds to that angel and He says that that person that sat in the gathering of those people, he will not be left miserable. I'll even forgive him. This is the point of the gatherings of righteous companionship. Why we sit in these gatherings in the first place. Number one, so that the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes wajib upon us. And number two is so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives us. Despite what's in our hearts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives us for the very sacrifice of just being in the gathering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to continue frequenting the gatherings of the righteous people and frequenting the gatherings where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the words of His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam are mentioned. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.